Alrighty, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Unlock Your Freedom podcast with Kevin Keppel, and today with Karla S. Karla, what's going on? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Kevin. Thank you for having me here. I'm so grateful to be able to, talk to your community, share my story, and learn a lot from you as well.
Yeah, beautiful. We'll kick it off, you guys. Karla's an award-winning writer, speaker, entrepreneur, and I really want to hear it from the source. So tell us a little bit about you and who you like to serve.
Oh, perfect. So I grew up in the Philippines, and I grew up in Davao, which is a city down south, and I graduated pretty early. So I graduated college at 19. And at that time, I thought I had a pretty good resume for a college student. And I thought that companies would be, fighting for me. And when I applied in my dream companies like Procter and Gamble, Coca-Cola, Unilever, it was like my dream to work for these companies. Unfortunately, I didn't pass like their first round of test or screening, and it really bothered me and obviously hurt my ego. I graduated super early compared to most people. I was the president of the debate team and the table tennis athlete, and I was like, why? And apparently, a lot of people didn't want to hire teenagers still. So from then on, I just decided to not work and and not have like a real job, as they say. But I really like writing, so one ad agency hired me as a writer, and I came to work in flip flops, and I was just kind of this little rebel girl, and eventually that really opened my experience, my first experience in working for marketing, advertising, and I really fell in love with it. Along the way, I started physical businesses, like I had a flower shop, events company, but on the side I've always liked working online and the freedom that it brings. So I started an outsourcing company, a little HR company, and fast forward to now, over the pandemic, I also started an outsourcing company, and that's what I'm focusing on. So throughout the years, I've moved to many places. I've lived in Thailand, Canada for a bit, Las Vegas, and now I'm in Mexico. So that's the story.
Well, that's a pretty cool story, and I think that's wild that people wouldn't want to hire somebody who showed that they can graduate college at an exceptionally accelerated rate. It'd be like, you're obviously not a normal teenager. Um, so I was laughing at myself when you shared that. I'm like, at 19, like I could barely even get my shoes on at 19. I was in college, sort of, but I definitely wasn't graduating college. So that's pretty impressive. So
Thanks.
tell us a little bit about the business you launched in the pandemic. Go a little deeper
Yeah,
on that, please.
sure. So over the pandemic, my business partner and I started an outsourcing company. We saw that there will be, with the movement of the jobs, we saw that there will be people that will be laid off or that will be quitting, moving back to the suburbs, moving, with their family. So there was a lot of moving and quitting and all that, exploring opportunities to work, being location independent with work. So we thought that there would be a gap that needs to be filled, because even if employees are being laid off, it doesn't mean that these services are not needed. So we started Scalewind. We are a managed outsourcing company, and we mostly deal with businesses that don't want to do it by themselves. They don't want to DIY, go on the freelancer sites, try to hire a freelancer that they don't know from the other side of the world. And um, this is also for companies that want everything taken care of, and they just like talk to their virtual assistant or their graphic designer or their funnel builder, and then the work just gets done. So everything else is taken care of, like the the contractors, like healthcare, all the other monitoring activities in between. So we found it incredibly satisfying, not just to be able to provide jobs to Filipinos. So all of our team is based in the Philippines, but also for everyone else around the world, to give them a low cost option to maybe even explore starting their own business, or to have their businesses continue without having to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, very cool. So when it comes to managed outsourcing, like help us understand a little bit better what types of, common outsourcing jobs you guys work on.
Yeah. So the most common outsourcing jobs that we work on are definitely the tasks or items that are related to organization or productivity, like executive assistants, admin assistants, or something related to producing revenue for the company, like lead generation assistants or salespeople or customer support that are also salespeople, funnel builders, people who build and design funnels and websites that immediately lead to sales, for e-commerce businesses. So those are the two, focused things because they immediately translate to either a lot of ease for the CEO or for the owner or revenue for their company.
So obviously, outsourcing is a big part of scaling. So I'm sure that's, kind of the maybe the genesis behind what you guys are doing, helping people go further faster without having to spend a
Hmm.
lot of time doing stuff you don't want to do. Like I'm super grateful for, people that can do things I can't do. Because if
True.
I had to build my website, I would have probably just gave up a long time ago. And it's so frustrating doing things you're not good at, and it takes you away from, creating and doing what you get paid to do. And so I
Exactly.
noticed one of the cool things on your bio is talking about scaling without spending money or without spending a lot of money, and especially on ads. I'd
Yeah.
just be curious what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I love sharing this story because it also helps small businesses, realize that there are a lot of ways to scale their business. So that is definitely a huge part of our, success story in our first year. So in a little over a year, Skillwind was able to grow from zero to six figures in monthly recurring revenue, without spending anything on ads. And I would say that this is largely because, number one, I'm really competent of the work that we do. So this is like, I think, step one in all of the businesses, because a lot of businesses are so busy promoting themselves, but they lack, like, really taking a look at the work that they do and how they serve their customers, right? Like even Amazon is really keen on their principle of customer obsession, for example, and that was a huge part of why they grew so fast. So we really spent a lot of time and money in improving the skills of our people and really making sure that our clients are happy, doing like a lot of check-ins, when we were starting out. And of course, we're not perfect. If someone complains or they would raise a concern, we would immediately fix it, and or we gift them like 2 free weeks or an extra month on their subscription, just delay, like billing them. We were able to take some losses just to really learn along the way. So I would say step one is we really had to only hire very competent people and make sure that the work is good. And then step two is we used, quote unquote, our first few customers as our affiliates. So we were able to offer them rebates on their subscription plans because we are a subscription service. If they, refer a client, and then we also had JV partners or joint venture partners where, each referral they would earn a commission or of a recurring amount every month as long as the client stays. And not just that, and I have partners, like podcast hosts also, or influencers, coaches, because these are the things that they don't do. And we also gifted a lot of services to people, in the industry that, we just wanted to make them experience our service. So we gifted 2 weeks of service, here and there. We gifted like full on website redesigns and, conversion focused funnels. So yeah, so we earned our first few affiliates. We gifted, services to people in the industry, not doing any ask, just we want to let you experience our service. And then we just kept growing our affiliate network, and then we hired and we formed a really good retention team. So because we are a subscription service, um, we are able to, I would say, spend a lot of money to acquire a client, because each contract could be a $22,000 contract, or like that's the contract for a year. because all of our services are 18.95 a month. So yeah, that's what we did. So we, number one, to summarize, we made sure we're really good at what we do. We invested a lot of time and money into it. We earned our first few affiliates, and we rewarded people for sending business to us. And number three, we gifted services to people that hold a really high, like they're influencers, they're coaches, they're kind of a authority in their niche. And then last step would be form a really really good retention teams, and then have the acquisition, the retention team, like kind of compete with each other, and continuously coach these people as well.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And you used that great example of Amazon. Obviously, they're they're doing something right there. And one
Yeah,
of the one of the really cool things about Amazon, it's like I've been using it for oh gosh, I don't even know when I first started using Amazon. Like way back, and I love the fact that if there's something that frustrates you about their site, it doesn't last long. It usually goes away because they catch that and they improve it because they are
yeah,
very focused on the customer. And I think that's where a lot of people miss is like they like set up and like, all right, we're good. And like,
yeah,
man, like, change is the guarantee we get, right? Things are going to change. And if you think you have a static model that's going to bring you continued success, like that's go ask Kodak how that worked out for them, right? Go ask Polaroid, or Blockbuster or any of those other people that
yeah.
refuse to evolve. And I love that. And it sounds like really powerful, leadership and team management on your guys' side too. So where did you really learn to be so intentional about being not a manager but an actual leader?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I would say I've had the privilege of being born first, being the eldest child of an Asian family, where standards are really high. Standards are, certain standards are expected from you, and people talk about privilege a lot, but I feel like I've had one of the best privileges ever, better than I don't know, like a powerful passport or anything, but I had the privilege of really smart and kind parents, and my parents like are my role models, they're my moral compass. And I was the eldest child of my family. We were three siblings, but my both of my parents had really high standards in terms of like quality of service, also like kindness and grace. And we were not allowed to watch TV when we were growing up. We were only allowed to watch TV on a Friday because it's the weekend and there's no classes the next day. But then come Friday, when we watch TV, we would not know what was going on because we didn't watch, like the series, So even if it's cartoons, right? There's a story. We don't know what's going on because we weren't able to watch the past four episodes, and so we just didn't like watching TV at all. So me and my sisters grew up that way, and my dad spoiled us with a lot of books. Actually, our family was in debt buying this big encyclopedia set. I just remember when I was a kid, it was so expensive. Those door-to-door salesmen, they sell you books, and my dad always like, oh, this is a good investment. This is an investment in the future. Um, and so I had that privilege. So I would say that's where I first learned, how to be a good leader and how to be really obsessed with learning and improving myself and being able to catch myself when I'm wrong, and just be open to learning. Unfortunately, both of my parents passed in my 20s, so I had to become the breadwinner of my family. And then I started an events company actually in the Philippines, and that also honed me to become a really good leader because I started leading teams. I think the biggest event I threw was a 9,000 person rock concert. So like leading things like that really like honed my capacity in being a good leader.
Yeah, wow, that's really powerful. And I think that what a gift that your parents gave you. You didn't miss anything Monday through Thursday on TV. I guarantee you that. But just really empowering you with a love for books. I think that's so cool because I just don't understand how people don't read more. It's like dude, that's like the
Yeah,
cheat codes to the universe right there. And like
exactly.
so,
Absolutely.
one of the questions that I love to ask at the end, but since we started talking about it already, it's like, what's a favorite book of yours to read or recommend or give away?
Absolutely. I even have a tattoo on this in my nape, actually. Um,
Yeah.
um, The Little Prince, and by Antoine. What's the French name?
Yeah,
And
Saint Upri
have
is.
you read the book?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's been a
Saint
while.
Exupery or something.
Yeah, I can't ever say it. That's what I say. The same thing. It's like it's Antoine something French. Um,
This is why I don't go to French restaurants because they make me feel stupid.
yeah, I don't think that's an issue for you. Feeling stupid. He's
Yeah,
got that great quote too. It's something to the effect of like perfection is attained when there's no more that we can take away, not no more that we can add. And
yeah. It's
I
it's
really like
it's
that.
so rich with quotes. Um, so it's my favorite book because it's the first book I read. My dad told me, "Oh, it's such a short book. You'll finish it in 3 days." It's a children's book. He actually tried to sell it to me as a children's book, and then he told me that I know it's not.
Your
And
dad's
then
awesome.
he told me, yeah, he told me that I should read it every year, and he said that it will change. It has the magic to change its meaning depending on where I was. And I was like, huh, that's really weird. And so I read the Filipino translation of The Little Prince because when I was in third grade, I read this book when I was in third grade, Jesus Christ, a philosophical book. And it was the only way I could kind of understand it if it's in my native language. So when I was in high school, I think was the first time I read it in English. And my dad was right. It actually really changes its meaning every year, and there's always something new that I discover, and there's always something to reflect on. Even in relationships, eventually, what was that quote? You're forever responsible for what you have tamed. So
Ooh.
I love that quote. So it's my favorite book. I think everyone should check it out.
Yeah, I think that's a great recommendation, and I think that's like such a good point too. Like that your dad made. Like what a great guy that he helped you find the joy and expanding your learning because that's and like once it's ignited, you don't have to keep reigniting it. It's really powerful. And then I love going back and reading books that I've read previously, even if I read it like a few months ago, but especially if it's like a few years ago or even decades, because I can kind of remember what I thought the first time I read it and how I looked at things and how much different it lands on me now and how I just think so much more powerfully now as opposed to before. Not that it wasn't then, maybe, but I just the perspective and it's really cool to kind of get like a little time machine and to see, here's where I was and here's where I am now. And, you really get a good look at your growth very often because you're with yourself all day long, obviously.
I love that. Yeah, you are. Can I ambush you, Kevin, and ask you for your favorite book?
Yeah. Then it's like pick a favorite kid, right? But man, I love to read. I'm usually reading multiple books and listening to multiple books. I don't know. Maybe not the favorite, but one of the favorites. How about that? Make that a
Okay.
safe bet. I really love The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. You ever read
Oh, I
that?
love that. Yes, yes.
And I like that because it's not super long, and that
Mhm.
way I can get people to read it who maybe don't read a lot. Like hey, it's really short,
Yes.
and if you listen to it on Audible, it's got a great voice. Sounds like your grandfather reading your book, and it's so beautiful to have a word for what stops us. When he talks about resistance and Stephen Pressfield just came out with a new book, "Put Your Ass Where Your Heart Wants to Be," and
Mm.
oh man, it's so good. Like, and like basically, it's oh man, it's just so good. Yeah, so to any of his books, I really like, and man, that would probably have to be the favorite, I guess, if I had to pick one. So great question.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. I remember rereading that book last year, actually, when I was like dating a musician 2 years ago. And I was so, I think that was, that was the best part of the relationship. Unfortunately, he made me rediscover that book again. And I'm like, wow, what a great book. Yeah. I haven't listened to it, but thank you for telling me because I'm going to download the audiobook today.
Yeah, and I mean, it's pretty succinct too, and he took away all the stuff that like the fluff, and it's just I feel like all pretty good meat, and you don't have to be an artist to get something out of that or a writer or anything like that. It's going to be appropriate for wherever you're at in your life. If you're facing some sort of resistance, like it's one of the most beautiful explanations of identifying it first off, because it's invisible, and so obviously we don't see it, but it's prevalent. And when you identify with that, and that's what causes people to like start clinging to the problem, and then like the actual
Mhm.
situation is gone, but the problem and that fixation on it becomes the new problem moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where you get like Groundhog Day, like the movie, right? It's every day is the
Yeah.
same, just not as good as the one before, and that's really hard. Like, man, we're meant to evolve. And so I want to learn a little bit from you as a business owner.
Mhm.
What do you feel like are some of the bigger drains or doubts, the internal or external things that really, stop you, slow you down, stand in the way, which I'm sure there's not a lot based on what you've shared, but what do you feel like is the resistance in your business as a, business owner and leader?
Yeah. So this is gonna be, uh, probably a curveball, but I've discovered I used to coach people. I used to be a business coach too. I had a short stint doing that. Um, and so it made me talk to a lot of people and what's really stopping them from growing. And then, now and then I stopped doing that, right? And then I did, like, I focused on my business. So I stopped like teaching people, but I was still producing content because I didn't want to lose touch with my, with the people I used to help. And this has come up recently, and I realized that, and also, by the way, in that period of my company going from zero to like $1 million company, I was the only person doing all the sales. I closed all the calls. I went on all the sales calls because I wanted to do as many conversations as possible with my market. And I noticed that, one of the things that really stop us from growing, and the pain, is actually an inner feeling of worthiness. And I noticed that a lot of business owners somehow, some way, don't feel like they're worthy of help. That's, yeah, kind of connected to outsourcing, right? Or help in terms of like hiring a therapist, or help in terms of cleaning, house cleaning. Like, you can afford $35 an hour of cleaning. You can afford, but you can't afford not having a home that serves your, a peaceful and nice headspace for you to be able to create. You like, picking good sheets. Like, why are you picking bad like sheets, or so you can save a few dollars? Are you not worthy of restful sleep? Are you is your like, is your body not worthy, buying clothes? Like, are you not worthy of good material that makes you feel good, like buying like beauty products? So, and in business, not being able to scale is sometimes, I feel like a lot of people are feel somehow still feel that they're not worthy of success or growth or help, professional help, quality help in their business. And yeah, and it just made me look like almost every person who's struggling, I discovered, has somehow, an inner sense of unworthiness, even in relationships. I've noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. That was really well said. It's like, dude, if you're mowing your lawn and you could pay somebody $30 to mow your lawn, what's your opportunity cost? Because you've got to spend time like getting the stuff together, getting it started, and you're also taking away from somebody else's, who's in the lawn mowing business, right? Like, you could empower them and let them do what they're good at and what they make money doing. And like,
Hmm.
if you create all this stuff like cleaning your house and mowing your lawn and like that, your reward is like busy but not productive, right? And you
Yeah,
know Peter Drucker in The Efficient Executive is like, there's nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which shouldn't be done at all. It's like,
I love
oh,
that.
I could have used that information in my 20s because like I would like try to do a bunch of the things that were easy in spite of the things that required a little mental horsepower. Yeah, but that's another place we'll stop in the time machine when that gets invented. Clean that up. Um,
Yeah.
so how did you move through that? The inner worthiness or lack thereof, and really step into the truth, so to speak.
Well, once again, I'll go back to how my parents looked at me. So I was always, I wouldn't say always, actually wasn't always, but I was like valedictorian. I won a lot of competitions. It was because my parents just saw me as this champion. And I remember when I was a kid, oh my God, we had this activity in school where you have to draw what you want to be. And I asked my dad, we have this assignment in school where, we're going to draw what we want to be, who we want to be, like and I was like, my dad was like, well, what do you want to be? And I said, maybe I'll be a doctor. It's such a good profession. And your doctor friends seem to make a lot of money. So I'll be a doctor. And my dad said, do you like healing people? Does that? And I said, I think it's nice to do. My dad was like, what do you really want to do? And I'm like, I like looking at stars oh, so you want to be an astronaut? And I'm like, yeah, I want to be an astronaut. And my dad put it there and be an astronaut. So like, obviously this little girl from developing country wanted to be an astronaut. It's so absurd, right? But that was how my parents were. They just believed that I was worthy of everything. And my sisters too, not just me. I want to make that clear. They might be
Yeah.
watching this. They're like, what? And so they just believe that we can do everything, we can achieve everything. There's no limits, nothing can stop you. So, so I feel once again super lucky, super lucky. #blessed for having parents that made me believe that, because I just didn't stop at nothing. So, but along the way, I also did a lot of self work, like journaling, meditation, just really coming back to what I want, what I feel worthy of, the life that I want. So I do all the things. It's like I'm preparing for war. So I do all the things. I meditate, journal, I vision board. I talk to a therapist. I do Reiki. Like all that stuff. So yeah. So the work's never done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're all a work in progress. And,
Yeah.
if I've arrived, like if I'm not progressing, then I'm regressing. Like there's no stay the same, right?
Yeah.
And, it's like the world continues to revolve around you, just not in the way you probably want it to revolve around you. And it's like personal inflation, right? You're going to get eaten up.
I love that term. Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to outsourcing, what about like common misconceptions that you feel like your frequent flyers that you come across with the fine folks you get to serve?
Yeah. So, some of the common misconceptions with outsourcing is they treat it as a Hail Mary sometimes. So, something's not working in their business. They want to outsource some tasks in order to like save their business. But what they're actually doing is they're outsourcing their confidence, and they treat it as a Hail Mary. So, if your business is failing because maybe your offer is not working or you're not able to produce competent quality work, which, if you remember, that was step one, outsourcing cannot save your business. Okay. Unless very, very small percentage, unless you use your outsourced team or a virtual assistant to maybe do research, why it's not working, or you tell your VA to interview your clients what's not working. So those are good. And those tasks could save your business. But what outsourcing is, I'll just reiterate, is it is a set of templates, systems, if then statements, processes, a list of software that is already working in your company that even you can do yourself or your managers, and then you're just passing it off to someone to do it so that you don't have to do it yourself. That is literally outsourcing. Um, Outsourcers are not, outsourcing team members are not expected to produce certain results or to give you advice or consulting, although they could, right? Because they might be seeing something that you're not seeing. But if you're hiring a virtual assistant, remember that you're hiring, our best seller basically. Remember that you're hiring an assistant still. So your expectations should be as if you're dealing with an assistant, not, I want my VA to build my funnel and talk to my team, talk to my clients and produce my content. So they can't do all of those. So yeah, I think, determining your processes, systems, and making that perfect would be step one. And if you can't do that or you're not sure, you can still use your VA to trial and error a lot of things for you. Then you're still able to save money while doing and time while doing trial and error.
Yeah, I think that's really an important point you were making there, because like we don't get to unfortunately hire an assistant who's going to be exactly like us except way better and way more intuitive. And yeah, you're the creator for a reason. So really,
Yeah.
big point there. But it's not that they can't do some of those things, and they're not going to be able to see some things you're not. But
Mhm.
it's just not going to be all things to all people, especially with no input. So I think, man, you guys have put together a really cool way to serve people. I'm sure you get to help a lot of people, and that's probably the whole point. So super rewarding. Let's talk about the avatar for a second.
Mhm.
So, how do we know what our ideal avatar is? Because I think a lot of people are familiar with avatar and the importance of it, but I don't think a lot of people know how to get there. Like, what
Yeah.
is that?
So I actually we have one of our divisions or one of our companies is called Copy Geeks, copygeeks.com. And they are, writers for hire. So they write copy, they write content, they're trained to write copy and content. And in the avatar research that we do, actually, I'm going to share with you. So this is like, our company secret, but I'm going to share it with you here. But this is how we research for avatars in our company, Copy Geeks, because they have to write copy right for the avatar. A good way to really learn about your avatar, I would say number one would be get into as many conversations as possible with your target market. So just like what I did, I took it, in my own hands. But also personality wise, I understand I'm more extroverted and I love the sales process. So if your personality is not like that, maybe you can outsource that to like a customer support agent or a virtual assistant, and it's okay to outsource that thing to just for data generation. So get into as many conversations as possible, uh, as yourself, and then the next would be get into as many conversations as possible, in other people's conversations. So go on Facebook groups that have your ideal client. My favorite, go to Quora and Reddit. Just try to see how they work. You might find. So, for example, if I'm doing research for my company, which is an outsourcing company, we would go on Reddit and look at famous outsourcing um, companies, like, for example, Fiverr. Fiverr is a very successful company in outsourcing, but they're a different model. So I would say, hey guys, what do you? I would look for threads of people asking, what do you think of Fiverr? What do you like about it? And I kind of see what conversations my clients or the people who are warm to outsourcing are thinking and are saying. Quora is great for it too. Even Craigslist, there are some conversations there that are, by real people. And this is why I love. So if someone asks me, what's your favorite social media platform? I always say Facebook, because some people think Facebook is for old people, um, or like your family, or like stalking your high school crush or your high school, like, your high school bully or something. If you're like hotter than them now or something like that, like, yeah, I use Facebook for that. But the good thing about Facebook is, people are still people. People are humans. You kind of see their birthdays, their family, talking about their wives, like talking about their friends, the weddings, like talking about their business, their frustrations. So if you can get to as many conversations as possible, that would be great. And then I think you can Google like a simple avatar sheet. I think digitalmarketer.com had a famous one, where you can also kind of build a psychographic profile based on the information that you get, and form a persona, and even give that thing a name. So I would say that would be kind of my journey if I was tasked to perfect an avatar for my business.
I think I would just skip all that and call you guys instead because it sounds like you know what you're doing. And oh my gosh, what a great explanation! Because I know that's often talked about, very not often understood, probably how to execute. So really, well said. The fact that you can say it so simply shows a deep understanding and like really, really powerful. Alrighty. Well, I'm sure you've got work to do since you own like 18 companies, and you got to take over the world before the weekend's over. So,
IRS, you're not listening, right?
yeah, none of the 80,000 new folks that work there are, but
Right.
hopefully, no, we're law-abiding citizens. We pay our taxes
Yes,
early.
yes.
All right, let's do a little quick questions, quick answers here at the end. What's something in your life that's non-negotiable?
Peace.
Yeah, we already talked about a favorite book, but give us another one.
Oh gosh. 12 Rules for Life, Jordan
Ooh,
Peterson.
ooh, yeah. I feel
I
like you
love
got a
that book.
little bit of trouble and learned a lot when you read his stuff. It's
I
so
know
funny.
it's tricky, but I feel people need. I feel like that book helped a lot of men, fathers, mostly. And I'm not gonna be this rah rah feminist, and like I recognize that most of the leadership positions are still held by men, and I personally feel Jordan Peterson does a really good job at keeping a lot of men in line.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's like don't go in taking stuff personal, you know? Like
Yeah,
just take what you found value in and move on. It doesn't have to you don't have to have an opinion about everything, you know?
yeah.
What does freedom mean to you, Carla, here on the Unlock Your Freedom podcast?
Oh, this I love this. I've always operated in terms of three kinds of freedom, and this is my dream for my life. And I would say freedom, financial freedom. Being able to buy anything that you want, but also honoring the money, not because it will run out, but because you honor the work that was done to produce that. Location freedom, obviously being able to live anywhere according to what your health demands. And so, and by saying health, like, and everything, mental health and all that. So if you remember where I mentioned before the countries I lived in, I always lived in places with at least 300 days of sunshine. So
Yeah.
that really matters to me. So I will never live in, like, I'm sorry, my sister lives in Indiana. I will never live in like places like that because I choose where I live based on my health and my peace. And lastly is my favorite, freedom from the opinions of others. So those three freedoms are always the things that I work towards. Um, and yeah, I think the third one would be the best, honestly, if I was to choose, because it also includes in there your choices for your money and your location.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? It's none of your business what other people think anyway. So why worry about it, right?
Life is short, yeah.
Where can people go to learn more about you and engage with you, Carla?
Yeah, so I would love to invite everyone, listening right now to check out our services at Skillwind. It's skillwind.com. And if you mention this podcast or Kevin, I will gift you 2 weeks free on your first month of subscription. So you can't find this deal anywhere. Just mention this podcast or, Kevin's name, and we'll take care of you. And, if you want to see all the fun things and all the raunchy jokes I've been telling, you can find me on Instagram, Carla Stefan, and on Facebook, Carla Singson. So just a little warning: those are I sometimes post about things that you probably won't show your parents.
That's awesome. No, we're definitely going to go see that because
For psychology.
that's awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to share your genius with us. It's really uh, powerful. A lot of cool things, and I'm sure you help a lot of people. So that's the whole deal, right? Grow as much as we can so we can give it all away.
Absolutely. Thank you. I had so much fun.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, thanks, you guys. Thanks for joining us on the Unlock Your Freedom podcast. If you found some value, please share this with somebody you think that might benefit. And I would highly suggest connecting with Carla. She's pretty brilliant, got a big heart, big brain, take you anywhere you want to go. See y'all next time on the Unlock Your Freedom podcast.